Have you ever been knocked down and found it hard to get up? Have you ever been knocked down and bounced back to come back even stronger? Hi, I'm Gaurav Bhagat and you can call me GB, and welcome to the Smashed Bashed Yet Not Dashed podcast, a fortnightly podcast where I speak about persistence, perseverance and overcoming the odds to come out ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smash Bash Yet Not Dashed podcast. This is season 2, episode 4, and today I have with me a very special friend and a guest. It is AMIT BAGGA. He is the co-owner of Daryaganj, the amazing chain of Indian restaurants, and also owns iTalk Media, which has got a whole bunch of verticals and doing some amazing things in it. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners of the podcast, if you haven't tried out Daryaganj right now, or you really missed something, it is the Indian restaurant which has the most spectacular butter chicken. In fact, they call themselves the founders of butter chicken, right? And it is really, really taking it by storm. Amit, of course, has also been a part of the first batch of Scaling with GB at the Gaurav Bhagat Academy, and it was great to have him here. Amit, great to have you on the Smash Bashed Yet Not Dashed podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and especially with you, because you've always been an inspiration for me since I was a kid.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking about kids, I think our first meeting probably happened, and maybe it was Amit's 8th birthday. I don't remember. Amit, of course, was a really close friend of my brother's, and I remember going across to his home in Pusa Road for what would may have been his 8th birthday, and I tagged along. And I remember we saw Tridev as a movie, and it was grand. Okay, it was grand because birthday parties in the 80s in Delhi weren't, and Amit Bagga threw the best parties in Pusa Road, right? And I remember that. So tell me about the good times of growing up as an influential Central Delhi family. How was that for you?
So yeah, I was born in a business family, and I was growing up, and I went to St. Columbus School with your brother. He was such a great guy, and I still remember. He was the one person who used to call me for all his birthday parties, and I was not that studious. In school you should judge your friends by how well they are performing in school. So I never used to perform well in school. So everyone used to not call me for their birthday party. But Grish, your brother, used to call me for every birthday party. I used to really like him for that. And and I remember coming to your house once, and I saw a game lying on this table, and he said, "What is this game?" It's like the stock market game. Oh, this is very interesting. Where did you get it from? So my brother made it. Like, what are you talking? Your brother made it. How can it be possible? And I saw that your name there, and I'm surprised, man. Your brother is such a young. He's young, and he's already running a business. It was for us as kids. It was like imagine your kid running a business. It was like something surprising. So I actually was the first time I actually got inspired. That was the first inspiration, actually. I never told you, I've always been inspired after that. I used to feel that, okay, this guy can do it. I used to start, my mind started thinking about, at that time, I used to start thinking about ideas, business, started reading the Economic Times. That's what I did that time. That time, and I got to know that you were doing such interesting things that such young age.
Yeah, I think I've been one of those crazy 16-year-olds who got into entrepreneurship, and you guys, of course, all 4 years younger. So you must have been 12 at the time, and yes, I'm sure it must have really come up as something pretty interesting. So, of course, this podcast is called the Smashed Bashed, Yet Not Dashed podcast. And keeping that in mind, I actually have my first question for you. And I know everyone has at some point in their lives this moment, which is a smashed bashed moment for them. So would you like to talk about which was that moment for you, and just let everyone know a little bit more about what happened?
If I think about it, I would broadly say I have almost three incidents like this, which I can think of, where I can relate to this. At every stage in my life, it all mattered a lot, all these moments which I went through. I'll start with the first one. So as a kid, I feel that India's system of education has to be made right. But it's all about mugging up things and writing it and getting the marks, but never getting into understand things. I was a guy I used to never want to do that, and I never used to get the right marks because of that. So in my 11th grade, I took up the wrong subject. I took up science, which because the reason was because the commerce was not available in that time. That time there was very limited seats, and I actually could not. So I that was the first, we call it failure. So today we all joke about it when we used to say, okay, we are a failure. You're a failure. You flunked the class. So, but then I said maybe that was the wrong thing I did by taking up the wrong subject. So instead of repeating or going to another class again, then I went up and took up commerce in the 12th standard straight away. And and actually I came out with, for me that time, having an aggregate of 70% was very big for me. So I came out with that, and everyone was like shocked, what happened? How did you come back and do that? So I actually, when I took that wrong decision, I really worked very hard to get that result, because I wanted to prove it to everyone that it's not that I can't do it. But that was one time when that time you started in school, it's all people, your kids around you will look down upon you, you flunk and all that. It was like a very kind of a smashed moment for me that, and that's why I had to come back and prove it to the world that I can do it. So that's what one very small incident which happened. It laid the foundation of making me feel that yes, you can come back when you have a bad moment, you have a smashed up moment like that.
Yep.
So that was the first incident which I can think of. And so the second one is which is the more elaborate one, and where I actually that made me what I am right now, the second time which I went through. So I really feel that people are scared of failures, but I really feel failures is the stepping stone to any success. If you don't have failure, you will never, I don't think you will ever be successful. You can call yourself successful. If you've not gone through failure, you'll never be successful.
So true.
Because if you don't have failure, you will always feel that I'm invincible. And you'll never really realize what success is all about. You'll never value the success. Yeah. Second time was, if I tell you a bit about my life after that, when I was about in my mid-20s, I decided to get into the restaurant business. And also I started a few, started off as an investor in with a friend of mine, and started a few bars, which really became the trendsetters that time. There was a bar called Boombox Cafe, then Out of the Box in Hoska's Village. And they were all trendsetters. We used to do the craziest revenue that time, the highest in the market that time. And so it was something which, at that time when that success was happening and every was going out very well, I also felt that now it's all sorted now. This is sorted. I'm going to be, I was on the top of the world that time. But so, that time, few years later, like when I was about 30, so this all went on 5, 6, 7 years. We had a great run. We had, great successes. And then I got married when I was about 32. And that's a lot of things changed in my life that time after that. It was in those 2, 3 years, a lot of things happened which changed my life. So, then I had success, in quick succession, I had 2 sons. And by the time I was 34, 35, I already had a family with 2 sons, and things were looking good. And I was like, okay, now life is set, life is sorted. But that's when the complete turnaround happened in my life. So what happened that time was that because of some regulatory issues which happened, so I was operating a lot of my restaurants in this area called Hoska's Village in Delhi. And that was an area which is not a planned area. It's like an old village converted into a commercial space. So obviously there were infrastructural issues, and then there were regulatory issues which happened. So slowly things started going bad. They didn't have infrastructure. There was parking issues. A lot of issues happened, and slowly that whole area as a whole went really down. And one after another, I had about 5 restaurants that time. One after another, everyone started shutting down because of some reason or the other. Either the crowd doesn't want to come, or maybe some regulatory license issue happens. A lot of things happened. So here I was, after getting married with more responsibility and standing there, I suddenly, so here I was looking, things started, changing a lot around me because all my businesses were shutting down one after another. And, I was in a position where I didn't know what to do, and at one fine day, I was standing with nothing, none of my businesses being operational or
Yeah.
everything shut down. And a lot of losses for me, a lot of liabilities coming up on my head, and there was no income coming in. So it was like, and I was always been independent. I was not involved in my family business, all my own. So I was like, what to do that time? That was the turning point of my life. So at that point of time, everyone around me had written me off totally. That this guy is finished, was gone. I mean, that's when I saw a lot of change in the attitude of people around me. Some people used to treat me before, they used to talk to me before. In fact, I have a very interesting thing which I saw, that there was a WhatsApp message of the same guy in the chat. When he messaged me that time, so like, hi Amit, how are you? And then suddenly he messaged me a few weeks back, hello Amit sir, how are you? Like, how did it change? I mean, like, I don't know. So I mean, that time I realized now, that time my lesson which I learned, I said I have to analyze what all I have done wrong, or what all my decisions went wrong, and I need to learn from them. That's what I decided that time. And it was very important to have my family support that time, which was there with my wife. She really supported me, pushed me that, you can go and try out something. So I realized one thing. I'm a big data analytics guy. So I realized that, okay, so people say that your chances of getting success is 1 out of 100, maybe. So I said, okay, let me just go and try 100 times. I will be successful for sure. That was my first lesson I realized. I said I will go and try anything I can. So that time I was not sure whether I still want to be in the restaurant business. So I went and tried everything in the world. I went and tried to maybe do supply some products to the restaurant, supply, or do this or do I tried everything under the sun. I used to wake up in the morning, fix 10 meetings. Okay, I go to this guy, go to that guy, go to this. I mean, it was also not that I was not focusing, but I was trying a lot of things. I was finding where I could find that one thing where I could take it forward from there. So, I mean, so everyone thinks it's easy and just become successful. But like I said, odds are against you, that you work according to the odds. Try 100 times. That was the first
But
lesson.
what I love about that, Amit, and what you just mentioned is a lot of people, when they go through this kind of crisis where you lost everything, your businesses are gone, the debtors are, so the debts are really piling up. You've got the lenders are now coming to you and like banging at your doors and saying, hey, time to pay up, and come up with the liabilities. Now a lot of people find this to be, I mean, of course, stressful, but they also do exactly the opposite of what you just did. So you went into action while a lot of other people go into inaction, and they go into despondency, and they get all depressed and everything. But
Yes.
you went to action. I think I love that. I've never heard that happen much for a lot of people. So yeah, maybe you want to talk a little bit more about your thoughts there as well.
So I mean, it's not that I'm human. I was obviously feeling very low but then I realized that you can only do something which is in your control. I can know something which is not in your control. You can't do anything about it. So I said, what is in my control is go and try. I mean, there's I've had a thinking which maybe is good in a way for me, that I don't go by the book. There was a quote actually I made that, if you go by the book, but make sure the book is written by you yourself. So I mean, so I felt, now I will never go with any preconceived notion. Oh, this is not possible. This cannot be done. I always think that anything is possible. There's a quote which I really believe in. It actually defines my life. The fool who did not know it's impossible, so he went and did it. So if you don't know it's impossible, you will actually you have a chance to do it. If you keep thinking that, oh, it's not possible by the preconceived notions, you'll never ever go and try. So that's where sometimes education puts you down by saying that, okay, you can't, this is not possible. So that was one thinking which I had that time. I said, I don't care. I was just going to try. I will try. So I mean, it took a lot of time. It took about almost a year. I was going every day, banging on doors. Trying new ideas, pitching new ideas to people, going and trying different things. Out of all this, then this was about 3 years back. So one idea suddenly clicked. There was one idea which I had, which clicked really 3 years back, and I started working on that. From there on. So I mean, so I'll talk about that after that. But there are a few lessons I wanted to say, that what was the few things I had in mind that time when I was starting my life kind of all over again. Number one was that integrity and honesty is the most important thing. I feel that principally, if your integrity, you're strong, and if you are honest and your integrity is strong in life, I feel and believe in karma. You will everything will fall in place. So if there were people who had I had to pay to as liabilities for the businesses, the losses which I felt, I told them I will pay you off, and I gave them that. I never ran away from them. You should never run away from
Yeah,
people like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But one thing, and also whatever I wanted to do, well, one thing was to make sure that integrity is part of it. And second thing was I realized that one more thing which happened, and when I reached that first stage of the first breakthrough, perseverance is very important. You have to really go after things. You can't just leave it like that. I mean, I want to say one more thing about perseverance here. So I was watching this movie, The Founder, which is a story about the
Yeah,
McDonald's
Dwight Rock.
founder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he said a very very interesting thing that there are many talented people in the world. There are many intelligent people in the world, but you must have heard of a lot of things: wasted talent or wasted intelligence. Why? So that is not the only defining factor. What is the defining factor is that how much that person can go after that goal, how much perseverance that person can put into it. That is the differentiating factor. Some people just give up after trying 2 3 times. You have to keep going after it. That's when you get the results. You can be very talented, but if you don't go and try, how will you get the results? So that's
100.
one lesson I learned from perseverance is very important. And so also also thought at that time that if I have to compete with this whole in this competitive world, I have to be different from everyone else. I have to think of something different. That's where innovation has to come in. So I started thinking differently. I mean, I'm not the sometimes even different things, sometimes even differently for
Right,
different things. So
right,
that's
right.
and that's when one of my ideas clicked because of that reason which I had that thinking. So one idea was that I went to all my restaurateur friends. I said, okay, what if we put a small digital screen here in the restaurant, which
Right.
gives you a platform to put your own offers, promotions, whatever you want to put, and and you don't pay anything, and we monetize it by putting ads of people who want to target the audience in your restaurants,
Nice.
and it works well for it's a win-win for everyone. It's
Yeah.
win-win for you, win for them, win for us, because we so all three together make a. So that's also one more lesson. Whatever you
Uh-huh.
do in life, it has to be win-win for everyone. You cannot move ahead in life alone. You have to make sure everyone goes along with you. Everyone gets something out of it. You can't just think
So true.
only for yourself. So it was a win-win for everyone. Everyone said yes, and we started off. So we started off with just 25 digital screens.
Mhm.
And this was with my partner Gautam Birani, who actually is the one who leads this company because I'm not the media guy. He's
Yeah.
the one who's the CEO of the company. I was a co-founder, and so we started with 25 TVs, 25 digital screens. We started off with. In just 3 years now, we have 2,500 digital units,
Wow.
and our and we are one of the in fact not one even one I would say we are the leading digital out of home player in the market right now. So that's was a big breakthrough, and this all happened in this 3 years. And was just started from that one idea, and which I
Mhm.
pitched. Okay, let me do something different here in the restaurant. It just worked, and today we just started from 25 restaurants. We came to now 1,800 restaurants. Yeah. So I
Awesome.
mean that was one. So that was one thing, and then and 1 year later, then I had this passion of my restaurants. Could not let that go. Again, there where I thought, what do I do now differently in the restaurant industry? I could not think of anything different. I want to take a chance for that. I said, let's do something differently. That's when I realized that the lessons which I learned from all the restaurants which I had done earlier, they shut down. I learned a few lessons. One lesson was that don't do a very big restaurant. So do a 5, 6, 7,000 square feet restaurant. So let's do a smaller restaurant, 2,000 square feet. Easier to manage when there are the tough times. The expenses don't pile up. Number one was that, and it's full. People always see a waiting around the area, the restaurant. Number one was that. Then second was focus on family restaurants. The bars don't last for too long. Family restaurants run for 60, 70 years. They have a much loyal clientele. The third was that focus on the cuisine which people love the most, is Indian cuisine. And the fourth
Right.
was that, that make sure that you get maximum revenue out of one place. So that's where the idea started. And I met another friend of mine, Raghav Jalgi, who was my childhood school friend. He was in the same school, Columbus, with us.
Yeah.
And so he told me the story about his grandfather who actually invented butter chicken dal makhani. I picked up that let's do that and let's start a new restaurant. We give a tribute to your grandfather and we talk about that story as well. And that touchwood was, I took, and that also then for a few months, 3-4 months, this was like I was forgot everything in this world. I was like working 18, 19 hours a day. I was like, I realized one thing. What people have done in maybe say 10 years, I want to do in 2 years. So what will I have to do? I realized in a normal day, when people work for 8-9 hours, they maybe effectively work for just 1 or 2 hours. I said, I will work effectively for 18 hours to make sure I can do whatever people have done in much longer time in a lesser time. And because when you're working, if people think that no, we have to really actually have quality time to work, not just sitting in the office and doing nothing. I really put a lot of quality time into doing things. So that helped. I started the restaurant. Touchwood, it became a runaway success. In just 2 years now, we are opening our 5th outlet, and we've been awarded a lot by many people, and it's been a great journey from that moment to now. So,
Also, so I mean, of course, we're going to talk more about Daryaganj in a short while as well. But let me take you back to that second instance, right? And again, what I've seen is restaurateurs and successful restaurateurs. They have a lot of friends. They attract a lot of attention. Like you almost mentioned, that WhatsApp message came to you as well. So, what was it like when you were reaching out to some of these people and they knew that you were in a state of decline, almost financial catastrophe, and when you were knocking some of these doors and these so-called friends just tend to disappear or ignore you? So what was it like, what was it like then? And anything that comes to mind where you're like, okay, I'm wiser because of these so-called friends and the experiences that I've had?
So yes, I tried to the attitude towards me had changed totally. When people see a guy successful, everyone wants to be around him. But when they see a failure, no one wants to be around a failure. They want to be associated with a failure. So because that's actually we use the wrong word friends. They're mostly acquaintances. Friends are very few. I feel you can't have more than 2, 3, 4 friends in your life. That's very tough to manage so many friends. So one thing was that. But today when I look back at that time, those times when all the people who did those things with me, and I really thank them, because I feel if they all had helped me out and actually given me everything on the platter, I wouldn't have worked that hard. So I actually feel they are also part of my success, and I give a credit to them. They're not doing the things which they shouldn't have done for me. So I look at it in a very positive way.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Also at this time, right? And you're young, you're still in your early 30s. Was there someone that you really looked up to and who held your hand and saw you through this crazy tumultuous time? Is there anyone who comes to mind who you went to for advice or mentorship?
Actually, I would say my friend Raghav Jaggi, who was my childhood friend from Columbus, he was one guy who really believed in me that time. When I went to him for this idea to start the restaurant, no one actually wanted to even talk to me. When many investors I went to, everyone said, we don't want to invest with this guy. But this guy said, I believe in you. I want to give you this chance to do this. I will come in and back you on this project. And he was one guy who used to actually give me a lot of advice as well. And I didn't have any kind of older mentor or someone that time to go to. So I kind of learned a lot around myself only. But these friends of mine, a few friends of mine like Raghav and another 1 or 2 friends of mine, they really supported me. So I really feel that more than sometimes more than your family, your friends become your family. That guy really supported me, and so I give it to him for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I remember this because it was, of course, in mid 2019. We'd met again after many, many years. Girish had just passed away, unfortunately. And you guys came over to the house, Raghav and yourself, both.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about how the collaboration happened amongst you. It was inspirational. And Daryaganj, of course, was on the cusp of something fantastic. And there were great things happening.
Right.
And I'd met Raghav in New York as well. And we'd spoken about how and the plans that you guys had. It was fantastic. I was in New York in September of 18, I guess. And we'd spoken about a whole bunch of really good things happening. And of course, in Feb 2020, come March 2020, the pandemic hits. right? Everything is locked down. You guys are on the cusp of, again, like this really big breakthrough. The restaurants are exploding. Everyone's writing about you. People are raving about your food. You now have restaurants in Connaught Place and Aero City
Yeah.
and multiple more. And then everything shuts down. And what was that like for you? Was it like
That was the third
deja
moment.
vu? Was
That
it
was
not like, oh my God, this is happening to me
so,
again, right? So what was it like for you then?
yeah, the third moment, third defining moment in my life, which I told you. The first two spoke about, and then the third one was this. And that third defining moment was when this pandemic happened. I had worked hard and I'd made such a brand that people were talking about it. We were raring to go. We were planning to open. We already had 4 restaurants. We planned to open 3 more, and we were like, I was like, okay, now things are back to normal again. And then suddenly the pandemic struck. Everything is, and at that time, when all my restaurants shut down, my media company also connected to restaurants. Everything was business was shut down. Like, what the hell? I'm like, I think I'm back to square one. That's what I thought that time. And that time when he was stuck in the house, in fact, Raghav only messaged me one, hey Amit, you got to check this out. This guy got your post. There's something happening. Go and join this. I said, okay, let me try. I said, okay, I'll go, but I was not didn't come with any expectation. I said, okay, let's just see. I'm free right now. What's happening? So I joined the scaling with GB thing, the program, and so when I went there, the first time actually the first thing, good thing was when I came for the first session, I started feeling, okay, now there's some positivity coming around. You gave out so much positivity the way you spoke. You you reaffirmed a lot of ideas which I always had. It also very much required that time. I it really helped me that time with that all that motivation which came in from how you spoke from that first session. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. After I heard that first session, this is I think, and I had a feeling that this is gonna be a very good thing for me. And I wrote to back to you when you asked me what defining moments and everything. So I said, okay, I feel that this is going to be a defining moment again for me, and it was. And so it really, really motivated me to be positive. I organized my life much better in those few months of the lockdown. I started taking on everything, organizing, writing my goals, writing my life goals, writing. I made a list of everything which I could, and I made targets for myself. I went to my team. I got them all together. We made organized a lot of documents. I picked up a few things which you had spoken about, how to organize your financial statements. I picked that up, I organized it, and I realized it was the biggest of CAs would not be thinking of some basic things, which were how to have just those three statements connected to each other, which you spoke
Right.
about, which was the cash flow, the P&L, and the balance sheet. You link that together, what's happening in the business. Really, just changed the whole perspective which I had towards the business there. So, I mean, then I again at that for that time I thought, let's just put in the effort. One lesson I have in my life, which I've really followed, is that, like I said, I believe in karma. So focus on the process or the whole process, not the result, because the result will be result will is going to come out of the process only. So if you keep thinking about the result, you will never be able to do it. So when I opened the Daryaganj restaurant, I didn't know I would be the best restaurant. I will be successful. I said, I'm going to go and give my best to make sure I give the best product, and rest will follow. My teams for me. So yeah, so that was one lesson, and then from here on, then where we went and in my other company, I talked, me and my partner Gautam, we were talking about what do we do. So we had a leading liquor company looking to support restaurants by giving them some kind of things which will help them. So we went and pitched that why don't you give these screens to the restaurants, and they will help them to digitize all their things, because it was time was to digitize everything. We went and gave a pitch, and they came back after a few months and said, okay, we love your product, we're going to take it. And in fact, we could not find anyone else doing this in India, the same software. Yeah. So it was a big thing with that idea helped. That when I thought of doing something different, when they went and checked the market, they could not find anyone else doing it. We're the only ones doing it. So they gave us an order from 300 restaurants. We went up to 1,500 restaurants from there. Wow. So we got an order for 1,200 restaurants with a big breakthrough. Yeah. That's what I told you, that thanks to you. I mean, this pandemic actually has changed my life in the positive way. And then we signed 2 more restaurants because people saw when we reopened our restaurants was tough, but we started getting good numbers because people were coming back. The loyalty factor was a loyalty factor. Right. We got 2 more restaurants to sign after that. We signed 2 more restaurants. Awesome. And then the best thing what happened was after that I just a few months received 2 awards in quick succession. One was for my other company, the iTalk Media Startup of the Year. and
Wow.
the Daryaganj restaurant, the restaurant of the year. So both
Fantastic.
happened together. So I realized this 3 years of my hard work on the media company got me the startup of the year, and the 2 years of effort in my restaurant business got me the restaurant of the year. So these 3 years changed everything. And then the pandemic, which was I think was just a pause. And in fact, I wrote an article,
Yeah.
and on Business World magazine, which said the heading was, "It's not the end, it's just a mend." So
Mhm.
there's just a time for mend yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love
Yeah.
that. And interesting that you also mentioned scaling with GB and how you came on the first batch. And I had no clue how you actually made your way there. But I will say this, once you were there, I mean, you played to win, right? I mean, the reason why you also made the 21 strong, and the 21 strong is the 21 of the best of the thousands that we've really gone and taken through the programs. And I think it's amazing how you imbibed everything. Like right now you mentioned goal setting. Okay, you also mentioned like the financial aspect, how you got into that and got into that into your businesses. What you did mention is that you also had a big breakthrough even on the health front. And I remember, you're seeing you, and I'm like, is that the
Yes.
same Amit? Because he had lost,
Yes.
okay, you lost like a fantastic amount of weight. So
Yes.
even the health goals, you picked it and you crushed it, and that was just amazing.
Yes, I mean, like you taught us that you look at all the 5 6 areas of your life and what are your goals. Like starting from the health goals, I lost a lot of weight looking at my health goals. I spent a lot of time with my family looking at my family goals. I set up all my system processes, everything properly in my company, and got ready for restarting my restaurant again when the pandemic ends, when the lockdown ends, and that was my business goals. I started organizing my finances. That was the financial goals. Then I mean, every area of my life, I started planning there. And a lot of things I've already executed, and some more things coming up, like my travel plans. My travel goals will come later. So a lot of
Yeah,
things would
yeah.
really help. It really helped.
I love that.
Sometimes I feel, what happens is that everyone thinks you have to come and talk about everything in detail or this, that, or give a exact, kind of manual for something. Sometimes you just need people to come and tell you basics, which people forget. The basic, just do these 3 4 things. That's it. That's what you come and say, and that just helps. Because people forget those basic things. Sometimes they start looking at things making things very complicated for no reason.
Great. 100% agree. And I always tell everyone at the GBS, we try and make it just simple. If it's not
Yeah.
easily implementable, why are we even telling it and teaching it?
Correct. Very true.
So, and as we come towards like the wrapping up part, maybe the last 2 3 questions. What's your advice? Because you've been through this, multiple times. What's your advice to all the people who've been beaten down, okay, in life, and they just doubt their ability to bounce back? And you've been there 3 times. I mean, you've been there in your 11th grade. You've been there in when you had your first ventures, all collapsed in your early 30s, and then of course you again almost witnessed that again last year. So, what's your advice to all those people who get beaten down and just doubt their ability to bounce back?
So one quote again I wrote, which I said, whenever you're going through a tough time and whenever you're really down, ask yourself this question: is this the lowest point of my life? If the answer is yes, that means your growth is going to happen now. The answer is that. If the answer is this a is this your lowest point in your life? No. No, then why are you worrying? Then it's not the lowest point. You've been through worse and got out of it. So why are you worried about it? So in
Mhm.
both scenarios, I feel it's going to be a growth. So
Yeah.
I think it's positive thinking is very important. Family support is very important. And something is that at that point of time when you're really down, everyone around you, with the way they're behaving, you start feeling that okay, I'm finished. I cannot do anything. But you really need to focus and believe in yourself that time. It's not easy. It's easier said than done. But I just feel that when you get negative thoughts that time, I used to just put my vent into positivity. So I just pick up a book, I pick up something good, I start reading it to divert my attention from any negativity, and that used to give me knowledge and take me into another world, another zone. So one thing is that, I mean, and also one, like Grant Cardone said in one of his podcasts, that that when I because he said, you can take anything away from me, you can take my money, you can take my cars, take my jets, but you can't take one thing away from me, is my courage, he said. And I also add on to that you can't take any away, you can't take your knowledge away from you, you can't take your experience away. I mean, no one can take your experience away, no one can take your knowledge away, they cannot take your courage away. They can take any materialistic things away. So when you have these with you, you will easily bounce back, for sure.
Oh, 100%. It's interesting that you're down this track because I see a very new Amit Bagga in the last few months, right? You're creating codes, you're putting stuff out there, you're speaking on forums, you're active in the restaurant associations, which is sometimes a business which is not the most organized in this direction. You're active in the CSR space as well. So how do you
Yeah.
see this aspect playing out? Is there potentially another, vertical that might be coming out of this one? Tell me a little bit more about
So,
that.
inspired by you, I feel that you gotta give to back to the society and give back to people. I feel like what I can do is I can give back to people by telling them my experiences. If they hear me out and say, okay, oh, this guy has been through this and he came back, so even I can come back. So I want to inspire people and I want to motivate people around us that okay, sometimes I heard people news about people committing suicide when they go through the worst times in life. At that point of time, it just needs a little bit of motivation. And that can really save a lot of lives. So I feel we need to motivate people that okay, it's not the end. You can always come back. So, and I want to
So
do
true.
that for, wherever I can, wherever I get the opportunity. I want to go out and tell people to be positive and not be not think that it's the end of life. If you lose anything in life, I feel that is the time that's a part of your learning experience in life. Every failure is a stepping stone to success.
100%, 100%, Amit. And that's just so good that you're coming down, that path now. So one final question would be, where does Amit Bagga see himself in 5 years from today?
So I am 40 now. So for when I'm 45, what I would want, I want where I see myself when I'm 45 is that I should have already achieved all my financial goals and as in my where I want to take my companies to, and from there on, and if I have done that, from there on, I want to do something for the world and the society. I hope I get that chance because I feel I don't have any materialistic ambitions too much. I know that the money is required for a certain level, require money, but then after that, that money can help you to do a lot of change the world. I really want to change the world in whatever way I can, whatever small way I can. I really believe in innovation, and what gives me the kick is doing something different or something differently. So I want to maybe 5 years down the line be starting doing something which can actually change the world, and try to do some things in wherever way I can involve innovation in that,
Yeah.
from maybe the data analytics or processes or anything which comes up.
Oh, I'm sure it will happen. And I have no doubt about that because you've been an action taker as far back as I can remember, right? I'm saying going back to even when you were in your early teens. So I, without a doubt, believe that's going to happen. Amit, thank you so much for being, of course, today on this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, okay, watch out for the Daryaganj chain of restaurants. If you haven't already gone there and eaten the butter chicken and the dal makhani, okay, you're missing out something like absolutely fantastic. You have to go. It's not only the food, it's the ambience and how they make you feel and that and more. I have no doubt that it's going to be the media businesses that are going to come up and play an important role as well in the future. And even though he downplays it, okay, watch out for this guy because he is already becoming an influencer slash thinker where he is pushing, motivating, and taking even people's game to the next level. So I would not be surprised if in due course, okay, we have Amit making a serious impact in the space of, well, even motivation and talks and all of that,
Credit,
basis
credit
the
goes to
journey
you.
that he's really had, right?
Credit,
Basis the
all
journey that
credit
he's
goes to
really
you.
had.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Gaurav,
hey,
for changing my life the third time around. Thank you.
no, thank you. And like I said, thank you for putting in the work because the course had 70 people on it, right? The first batch. Okay, why do we have only 12 or 13 who are absolutely crushing it, right? And subsequent batches have had like 50 and 60, but you always have only 6 to 7%, that actually achieve. And then I mentioned this with Pyle the week before last as well. You have the 1 or 2% who are above and beyond. And truly, I mean, you're just another person in that line and in that space as well. And I'm sure amazing things are going to happen. So thank you so much for your time today. And, really wishing you all the best. And we are going to have our next Scaling with GB batch get together at Daryaganj sooner rather than later.
Welcome. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.